Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. This is a tutorial of Campagnoli's Caprice number 19, and I'm Giles. This was a special request from one of my subscribers, so thank you for asking. Happy to do it. So for number 19, it's a little bit more like an etude and less like a caprice. Just because we cycle through all 24 of the major and minor keys, and it's sort of a prescribed formula. Each key is 2-bar phrase, so it's a little bit like, it can feel a little bit tricky to kind of get into like, okay, how am I going to make this piece feel like a bit of a performance, right? So what I did, and this was actually after I performed it, for this tutorial, I actually ended up going back and thinking about what kind of character I was trying to project for each of the keys. And so I've written in a character for each key, and we'll kind of go through and talk about the characters and how to bring them out. You may have different ideas, and that's great. This hopefully will give you like some kind of creative jump start to it. Also, if you want to listen to the full performance of this piece, just check out the link below, or look it up on my channel. And as always, you can go to thecampagnoliproject.com to find the original engraving with my annotations in it, and just some more writing on the piece. So let's go up from the top, and we have a big old C major scale to start, and I think this should just sound like you know, like you're an amazing violist playing a C major scale and your instrument sounds amazing. So you just want to project, and I wrote the word stable because I just felt like this just needs to sound very even and you know, a great sound. So and then getting into the C minor, I'll play these back to back. I wrote worried because we sort of like veer off that path of stability into a minor key. So here we go. So the very beginning, I was trying to give equal weight to every note. But then and sort of crescendo up to the top, right? But when we get to the C minor one, I make it sound worried by emphasizing the beginning of each arpeggio. So that would be every first 16th note of the beat. And then on the second measure, just every 2 beats to emphasize those notes, to sort of mark the line, right? Give a little vibrato and then back off the other notes. Getting into the G major, I put bouncy and joyful. We have spiccato markings there. We also have that slur and 2 separate notes pattern, which is going to come back a lot. So I'll play that for you. So for the bouncy and joyful G major one, I'm sort of lightening it up on the spiccato. The spiccato should come from on the string, right? So if you're practicing it slow, you want to start by practicing it without a bounce, and then letting that natural bounce come into your bow. So going a little faster, it's starting to get a little bit of a bounce, and then even faster, and using less bow on the bouncy parts, that's when you'll get it to come off the string. The G minor, I like to emphasize the beginnings of the slurs, and I put angry for that one because obviously the the minor helps with that, but also the bowing pattern, because we have that syncopation, right? So emphasizing the slurs happening on the off beats, right? We want to give them a little accent, a little push. And a little bit of like really fast vibrato to give them a little bit of a zing. Okay, getting into D major, I put warm. I think this one should be sort of in the upper half, and lightening up the bow, just giving it a nice fluid feel. Since the beat happens on the end of a slur, you're going to have to use a little bit more bow at the end of the slur to emphasize the down, the first and the second, third and fourth beats, right? Okay, getting into D minor, I wrote conflicted for this one. It's going through a lot of chord changes in the first measure, so. Sorry. So A major, I put jolly. You've got these string crossings, you can really muscle through them and just make it sound very sort of bubbly and happy, kind of like fiddling or something. And then we come to the A minor, I put turbulent. We're still doing these string crossings, really, make a big deal out of them. But we can change the character now to something a little bit darker. And then we get into E major, which I thought was dramatic. So play that for you. So that diminished chord going down in the second measure just felt very operatic to me, and then combined with the bowing pattern with the spiccato coming back, it's a very distinct character there. Then we get into E minor, and it's more of the same, but in a minor key. Bowing pattern is actually flipped around this time. Okay. Then we get to B major. I wrote pastoral for this one. I think it needs a little bit of a sort of a gentle touch, and especially going up so high on the viola. My viola is very sensitive, and so I have to be really careful on the A string, especially when I go up into the high registers. So this was partly a reminder to myself just to treat it really gently and with care, but I also just think that B major has something sort of like restful about it too. So this one is probably a little bit harder for the left hand. You want to really get this extension between your 1 and your 2. And so on the second measure of that variation, I'm actually not following his marking, his fingering, which is 1, 3, 4, 3. I'm going 1, 2, 4, 2, because I find this extension here is the easiest for my hand. And then reaching back for that A sharp. So really, I find that with viola, we really have to do some gymnastics with our hands. Take advantage of the fact that your first finger can go really far back, and you have this great extension between your 1 and your 2, and that's a good place to use it. Okay, so moving on to B minor, I put Stormy for this one. Blah. Okay, so it kind of stays up there, it gets a little bit screamy. Going on to F sharp major and F sharp minor, I put athletic for both of these. They follow the same bowing pattern and they kind of continue in the same character. So again, more of this two separate, two slurred sort of spiccato stroke. So it's a little bit more aggressive with the F sharp minor. And the other thing with this stroke is you can actually take out the notes and just practice the stroke by itself if you want. So that you're accenting the first beat da 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 da, but you're also accenting that slur to bring out the syncopation, right? And kind of throwing the bow back and forth. Just getting to the point where you can feel the balance of how you use the bow and not being able to, not traveling too far toward the frog or too far toward the tip. Okay, so moving on to C sharp major. I wrote heavenly for this one. I think, again, a bit of a reminder to take it really gently on the A string, but also I was thinking of like halos on an angel's head when I was looking at these, playing these arpeggio patterns going down. You'll see what I mean, I hope. Okay, so yeah, so lots of vibrato, lots of lingering on the notes for the C sharp major, and then the C sharp minor, which I just played for you as well, should be a little bit more sinister, right? So it's kind of like heaven and a bit of hell on the next part, like creeping in there with the minor key and the C sharp minor. Okay, so A flat major, I wrote playful. So this one, again, because of the bowing pattern, we have this lopsided bowing pattern, so you can really use that to your advantage to bring out the character. The other thing that we have is some big leaps with the string crossings, right? So really throwing your bow, making sure that you're stopping. Stopping on the new string before you play it, so that you're not getting any like fuzz or notes from extra strings passing through that arc with your bow, okay? A flat minor, wistful. So I like to play with the tempo a little bit in this one. I don't remember if I did that in the recording or not, but certainly when I'm playing it by itself, that's what I like to do. So you can kind of play around with it and see what you think. But certainly this part sort of likes to disappear a little bit, right? And sort of evaporate. So E flat major is stable again. It kind of, we return to this just scale, going up and down the scale. And it's a pretty nice key for the viola to play in, so we want to just kind of bask in that sound. I didn't write anything for E flat minor. I think I was thinking more of the same, although it's certainly a little bit more challenged with all the flats that creep up in there. But then we get to make a switch into the playful key of B flat major. This one I liked to play around with the tempo a little bit too. So B flat major and B flat minor kind of meet together, and the character continues, I think, throughout that, just switches into minor. So really make something out of those staccato notes again. Right? Add a little vibrato where you can, if you want to. This is early mid-classical period, so vibrato I feel like is always optional, and when you feel like it, for Campagnoli, it shouldn't sound like some notes are like all of a sudden vibrated and others are not completely, but on the other hand, it's not Brahms, it's not something from the 20th century or 21st century for that matter, and so vibrato can be a little bit more sparse and just when you need it for character's sake. All right, now that gets us back into F, which in turn gets us back to C, and we have the end. So for F major, I wrote striving. We're again reaching up into the stratosphere a little bit on the viola for that F major scale, turning around and then winding down in F minor and getting back to C. And it's interesting too how the C at the end, your whole note, sounds a little bit like it doesn't really sound like a convincing end. It almost feels like a half cadence. And I think that's actually leading into number 20. So he does this quite a bit in his caprices, where one caprice may not feel like it ends, but then you look at the next caprice and it looks like it actually should just go right into the next one. So I think that's what's happening here. You'll hear it. So after all that, it's a little bit unsatisfying in a way, but I think it should definitely wind down, have a retard at the end. Obviously, these last two variations, you're going to be saving your bow a lot and just trying to get the best sound you can out of 16 notes in one bow. But then if you go on, there's that C continuing on into number 20, and we have arpeggios. So it's always interesting to see how these fit together in the book as well. But I hope this has been helpful for you, and I'll be back soon, probably with another tutorial. So good luck, best wishes with your practicing and performing.